So after a victory in the first test match up against Ireland, the Springboks set their sights on the second test, and we are going to be trying our best to predict what Rassie Erasmus is going to be going with in his starting lineup, as well as the reserves for match 2. It is myself, and it is Rugbyitch. As a Springbok supporter, mate, you will be over the moon with the victory under their belt in South Africa. You are chanting Rassie. What do you think of the game overall? I'm sure you were pretty happy, though.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. It's just the intensity of the game itself. I mean, like, you know, no matter what, there's always the kind of like, well, there's meant to be kind of this like bad blood between these two sides, and it's kind of built up actually in terms of kind of a rivalry. So it's kind of good when these matches come around. And again, South Africa's record against Ireland in the past has not been the best because they've always been kind of the box bogey team, but that's been put to bed now with this result. So happy that's kind of done. And yeah, no, it was a good game actually overall, because it was kind of like a seesaw match actually in terms of kind of the tries going back and forth. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game a lot.
Sure you did. And now setting the sight on match number 2, Rassie Erasmus, will we see many changes is the big question that we do have to try and answer. And in our lineups, we will find out how close we can get. But for yourself, front row, who have you gone with at 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, so from front row, I've gone with likes of Oxen Che at number 1. I've then gone with Bungi Manomi at number 2, and then Frans Malherbe at the number 3. I just think you want to stick with the same 3 that they went with in that first test. I think they're pretty good throughout it. You can make the argument where Ireland did win more of their set pieces when they were on in terms of that scrum, but I think at the same time, like there's nothing really too much against them where they did much wrong. And you can maybe put Malcolm Marks in if you wanted to, like give him a go at the start. That would be a bold, cool call. Not even bold, actually. Just it'd be good to see him in there. But I just don't think they'll do it. So I think that's the front row.
And I've gone with the same. Oxnashare, Bongio Manambi, and Frans Malherbe. I think out of those 3, probably saw the most of Oxnashare, I would say.
Yes.
Just because we actually saw him a little bit more in the open play. But Frans Malherbe actually having that line break as well, which made the crowd go wild. Of course it would, though, when a big man like that manages to bust through the defence. But overall, I feel like this is probably not the game to go with a lot of changes in their front row. They'll want to keep it consistent. I feel like the Bomb Squad also did their job after that first initial little bit of a problem at the set piece. They managed to regain that composure. Looking through now at the locking duo. Number 4, Eben Etzebeth. Number 5, Franco Mostert. Now, this might not be a popular opinion, but I didn't see a huge amount of Eben Etzebeth throughout this game. Just trying to think through, like he had a couple little moments overall, but in terms of the push and shove that we saw, I normally expect to see that man right front and centre, but he really didn't end up in those scenarios where the players were going back and forth. I know that Porter was having a bit of a shove at one point.
Yes.
With Bongio Manambi was in there having a little bit of a go as well. But Eben Etzebeth, I feel like he went about his work, didn't he? With those lineouts as well, they were always contested throughout this matchup between the sides. Franco Mostert doing well in that locking duo too. So that is why I've stuck with them as those 2 locks.
No, I've gone with the exact same duo as you. I think both of them just they did a good job. They were solid throughout the game. There wasn't much, like you said, that were like there were moments where you're like, oh, they're kind of outstanding in them. But at the same time, they were good. They're good. There's not much more I can say from this because it's like the locks, I don't think played a massive role, I'd say, in this game. I think like both kind of set pieces did pretty well from a lineup perspective. I don't think there were any problems from that. Yeah, besides that, I think there was like kind of, I don't think I can say more on that.
I'll be honest, this is one of the games that I think for the South Africans, like normally we have a lot more to say about their locks, don't we? But I think it was more so the loose forward trio that were more heavily involved, which often they would be anyway, but even more so than we are used to seeing. Number 6 for yourself. Have you stuck with Siya Kolisi after the way that he played in their first test match?
Of course. Of course.
You have to, don't you?
You're always going to stick with Siya Kolisi. He's the captain. But you're going with him at number 6. You then go with Peter Sitatoy at number 7. And then this is actually where I've gone with a change. I've taken Quagga Smith out at the number 8 spot, and I've actually put Evan Roos to start in replace of him. I know that's a big call, but I just think Quagga didn't have the best of games. No, by the way, he's an awesome player, so it can just be a one-match kind of. He just has to get off his back, and then he'll be back to his best in this one. But I just think for this kind of match, I want to see more of a kind of a ball carrying number 8, and I think that's what Evan Roos does. So I would like to see him involved because we didn't get to see him in that kind of first test.
And I am the same. Siya Kolisi as my number 6. Felt like he had a very strong game up against the Irish. Peter Sitatoy That man now, when we look through at what he has done in his last few
awesome.
performances, like he just shut down everything. And also, how many running meters did that man have out on the wing? There was one point where I thought he was going to have that 70-meter dash and do it all by
He's a winner.
himself. But in
He's
the
a
end,
winner.
he's got the pacer one though. Like he's a big man over 2 meters tall and he runs like he's someone who's the height of Cheslin Colby in terms of that pace and the way that he can move his legs. But
I just had a thought, like him playing sevens rugby, like that would be a.
Tell you what, the Blitzboks have to get the checkbook out because if he was in their seven side,
yeah,
that is trouble for anyone who is in front of Peter Steptoe, and it will be trouble in the second test match as well. Definitely if Rassi does put him in the starting lineup for number 8. I have gone with Evan Ruiz. A roller coaster, I think, is the best way of describing Quagga Smith's game up against the Irish. He started off with a couple handling errors, given away a penalty. Then he managed to get a turnover himself during that period. Then he had another handling error. Then he stripped the ball from the Irish. Then I think he won another penalty. It was one of those ones how you weren't sure whether or not you were supposed to, give him a 7 out of 10 or whether it was dropping down to a 5. And then I think by the end of the game, he was probably about a solid 7-ish for the way that he played. He had a couple big turnovers, though, which I think is why there is a chance that Rassi will go with him again. But I think Evan Ruiz, that running game, like you mentioned, could be extremely handy. And one thing that certainly needs to be credited is that Irish loose forward trio, in particular Josh Van den Flair and also Caelan Doris. The way that he was able to get into the breakdown, he put a lot of pressure on Faf de Klerk.
Yeah.
Peter O'Mahony, he's a little bit similar to the Springbok locking duo. I didn't really see much of Peter O'Mahony throughout this game, even though I thought he would be the one who was front and centre. He kind of just did what he needed to.
Yeah.
But overall, I think we're going to see similar loose forward trios for both of these sides heading into this match, maybe with just the one change overall for the teams. But now we move on to the back line, the 9 and 10 combination. This has been talked about a lot over the last 24 hours or so. Now, we are recording this pretty close after the last match, so I should mention if there are any injuries to certain players, they have not been announced at the point of us recording. These two men, I believe, have not got injuries, although I would say that Handré Pollard's foot did look like it was broken at one point. The way he was striking the ball, 3 misses in a row is unheard of for that man. And even the crowd after the first one, when he missed, it was a stunned silence and everyone went, hang on, who moved the post? Who moved the post? Because that doesn't happen very often for Handré Pollard. But what do you think it was that caused the kicking inaccuracy for Handré Pollard here?
It's just that I don't actually know because it's Handré Pollard. Like it's like there's that quote from Jesse, like if I had to bet my mortgage, my house, everything on it, I'd bank on Handré Pollard kicking it. And man, a lot of mortgages probably were lost to that game due to that kicking there if that was the case. So I think it's just one of those games where I kind of said that previously for Quagga Smith. It's just one game. You can the next game he's going to prove it that he's just he's still a world class player and that's what he can kind of just do for the Boks. So I think it's just one of those where you just have to forget. Overall, he didn't have a bad game, by the way. There were moments actually where he executed those kicks actually perfectly in terms of in-play kicks. And yeah, I think he did his job solid, actually. I mean, I'd give him like a 7 out of 10 really for the game. But I think just, those kicks, yes, you can say they kind of let him down. But at the same time, the Boks at the end of the day won. So luckily it didn't kind of go against him in that front. But of course, if we were in the other scenario where it did go against him, then man, that's where a lot more conversations would be spoke of. But no, you got to go with Handré. You just got to go with Handré, and then Flaf. You got to go with him as well.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you really?
You got to.
I have. I mean, Grant Williams off the bench, I thought did look very good, and I feel like it just depends on what the tactic is for the South Africans in the second test match. We've always said it, Faf de Klerk, Handré Pollard, kicking game. Whereas if you've got Grant Williams and Amani Libbok, probably more of a running game for the South Africans. Still with that kicking involved, but nowhere near as much as we saw for Handré Pollard and Faf de Klerk's combo. So it would be a bold call to change 1 or 2 of them in this matchup. So that's why I think that they will stick with the same. But would I like to see one of the other guys get the opportunity? Sasha Feinberg, Ungume Zulu start in 10?
That would be a big call. But I'd like to see
it, but they probably will not do it in this contest. But now moving on to the centres. For yourself, any massive changes here, or are we going with the tried and true for the South Africans.
Yeah, exactly. You're sticking with Devin Delande and you're sticking with Jesse Krill. I mean, both of them I thought were fantastic for the Boks. I mean, really involved in that game against the Irish. And I mean, you kind of expect it because when you go against the likes of Bundyaki and then Henshaw for the majority of the first half and then Ringrose for the seconds, they're going to be heavily involved no matter what. And I mean, Jesse Krill even won man of the match, which, to be fair, like I was a bit surprised with that because I thought there were other players who were maybe slightly better, but at the same time, he was in the conversation, so it wasn't
you got to name them now. Who were the ones that you would have given?
I thought Dimi Delande, had a slightly better game than Jesse Krill. I just thought he was just more involved from a center standpoint. I mean, Peter Sutherland, I just thought it's Peter Sutherland. Like he was awesome throughout that game, and then I thought Curtly. I thought Curtly was pretty good from a winger position. And yeah, that's kind of the three I had in mind. But Jesse Krill was a part of that. So no matter what, I thought he was solid throughout this game. And yeah, I think you just got to go with those two.
And I did. I have gone with Damien Delinde and also Jesse Krill. There is a chance. Well, no, I don't think they can. I was going to say maybe there's a chance they look at Andre Esterhuizen just to rotate him and Damien Delinde. But up against Bundyaki, the last thing that you want to do. Who are you chanting for?
Lacania.
You're going with Lacania. That's the thing, though. Isn't it weird how much the last maybe 12 to 24 months have changed people's opinions on Jesse Krill and the way that Lukanyuam has become the second choice? We're talking about a guy who was nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year not too long ago, but ever since that injury, he hasn't quite found that same form, and Jesse Krill has just gone from strength to strength, which has then led to him kind of being a lot higher up in a lot of people's picks for that number 13 jersey. But yeah, I've gone with the same as they did go with. I thought that Bundyaki, I don't know whether it was the altitude, but he looked absolutely spent in that second half. But I think that was just down to the pure pressure that we were seeing from the Springboks as well. Both sides playing a hugely fast-paced game for an altitude contest. And we knew that someone was going to slow down in that second half if they matched that tempo. And unfortunately, I think Bundyaki did feel it the worst. But the back three, Tim, we saw Kutli Aronsa, we saw Cheslin Colby, and we saw Willie LaRue in those starting positions. And I have decided to go with the exact same three in those positions. Now, if they were going to change anyone, you can't. That's the problem with this lineup. You can't change much.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, this is the bold thing, by the way. This is so bold even saying this. But, like, I thought Curtly was great in that game. And then you can't really wrong Cheslin Kobe because I thought he also had a good game. I mean, he scored that try, which kind of, like, came out of nowhere, really. I mean, man, I thought, like, James Lowe, by the way, was so good for the Irish in that game, by the way. So good. Just in how, just his awareness of, like, where he had to be, like staying in touch to pass that ball to Osborne. I thought that was, like, pretty good from him. But man, that one mistake kind of let him down in terms of just giving the ball away towards Cheslin. But man, he got on it.
Two mistakes. We got to remember that kickoff as well at the end. That one that almost that one hurt him a little bit. But other than those two, like you said, it's a little bit similar to that Ben Earl missed tackle when the All Blacks scored. Everything else Ben Earl did throughout that game was great, but you have those little moments. And unfortunately for James Lowe, his two mistakes led to 2 tries for the South Africans. So it's a brutal sport in the old rugby.
But what I was going to say, because I think Curtly I thought had a good game, and I think Cheslin had a good game. But if I had to choose between one of those two, I would actually choose Cheslin Kobe to take out, but only because I would say you can maybe give him the shot in terms of the Ireland series and give Edward van der Merwe the opportunity here to kind of get the starting place. Because I thought he was pretty impressive actually in that Wales game from a defensive point of view, but also getting that try, of course. So you can offer you kind of a bit of both in terms of on that front. But I just don't think they'll do it. It's the Ireland test. So this is the Ireland test series. So I think you just got to go with your best guys. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you that you got to go with those two.
See, I feel like if I was going to take out Cheslin Colby, just from that instance that you said, I think what I would end up doing, this is probably not what they would do, is I would put Kurtley onto the right wing and then Makazole Mapimpi into 11. Might be the only way you switch that.
Actually, now you said that's probably what I would do.
There you go. But number 15, Willie LaRue. I don't think you can take him out either. But, I mean, Upper Lelefasi, it would be interesting to see how he matches up up against this Irish side. Definitely after he had a good game up against Wales, but will they do it? Probably not for this matchup. But now we have the bench. 6-2 split was what they went with in the first test. Is that exactly what you've gone with in this one?
Indeed.
Are you bringing all 6 of your forwards on at the same time, like they did in the first test match?
I mean, hey, if you want to do it again, why not? Could have prevailed at least in their favor, but I do agree that it wasn't like when you look back at it, maybe you just put the front row first on, then you can put the left on. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
So for yourself, front row replacements, who have you gone with in this matchup?
Yeah, off the bench, I've gone the likes of Malcolm Marks as the replacement hooker. I've then gone with Gerhard Stimkamp as the replacement there in terms of loose head. And then I've gone with Vincent Gok there as the replacement tight head. So, yeah, again, not really any changes there. I've gone with kind of what they did from that game. And, yeah, I think it worked out pretty well. So, yeah, that's my replacement front row.
Certainly did. We saw that Malcolm Marks turnover in the breakdown, which is actually something up against the Welsh I don't believe he had throughout that first half.
Yeah,
I could be wrong there, but normally that is what Malcolm Marks is known for, that locking over the ball. And as soon as he does that, you just can't move the man.
He won in the breakdown. He got it once. It was a big win in the breakdown.
But Gerhard Stimkamp also going to be there as my number 17, and then Vincent Gok as my number 18. So the same as what they went with last week, and the same as what I predicted last week. So a little bit of a mini win for myself. But number 19, Salman Moura, I've decided to keep him as the replacement lock. Also, my other replacement lock, RG Snyman, he had a big game when he came off the bench, a big physical man, broke Craig Casey completely, drove that man through the turf at Loftus. I hope he's all right. Yeah,
he's all good. I just saw a picture of him with Fafa Clark holding swapping jerseys, so they're all good.
Was he awake?
Yeah, he's awake. There was no oxygen mask on him, so yeah, it's all
that's good.
It's all okay.
But yeah, it was a big shot. The bloke gives up 50 plus kgs to RG Snyman and about 50 centimeters of height.
I thought the TMO will look at it for some. I thought the TMO may have a look at that, but they're like, no, he's just that Sean guys. You just got to accept it. So I was like, okay,
But yeah, RG Snyman is offloading though. It was quite interesting. The one time that he didn't offload the ball was actually the time that the Irish got a not releasing penalty. So I think I understand now why RG Snyman just loves holding that ball in one hand, going, "Who wants it? Chuck it over there."
There you go.
And normally it leads to that big opportunity. But yeah, massive push in that last scrum, like I mentioned, from the Springboks. And I've actually made a little bit of a switch here. No Macha van Staden at number 21 for me in this game.
Okay.
Instead, I've gone with Quagga Smith. I feel like they'll still try and give him some minutes in this contest rather than going with him completely out of the lineup if they have Evan Ruiz in the starting side. So I've decided Quagga Smith as my loose forward cover. The fact that he can play 6, 7, and 8, perfect for this scenario. So that is what I have gone with.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going the exact same for you as you. I mean, no changes there from my front. I think all of them deserve to get the opportunity once again in this game. And yeah, I think all 3 of them, I mean, yes, Quagga Smith, of course, started, but I think all 3 of them can make an impact in this one and have the ability to do so. So yeah.
Righty, so now we've got 2 backs left. They are Grant Williams and also Sasha Feinberg, Ungume Zulu. We're going to make it simple again. We got the same 2 as they had last week.
Exactly. Keep it simple. Keep it lazy simple. Just go with the same players. So yeah, that's exactly what I've done here. And to be fair, this is actually where I got at least this part of the bench right. So I was happy on that front. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think at least with Sasha, he made a good impact of coming off the bench at least. Kind of course, we kind of talked about it with James Lowe, kind of how he put that long kick down towards the 22. But yeah, got the box that 5-minute scrum, and then we just scored a try from it. So it's just all these little things which he helped with. So he made a good impact off that. So yeah, happy for his case.
Yeah, he just seems like a really good talent for the Springboks in the future. And the fact that he can play 10, 15 in the centres as well. Grant Williams can play halfback and wing. They literally have all positions covered with going with those 2 men.
Awesome.
So it's a pretty safe bet to say that they could get themselves the chance. So the only change that we both have in this matchup is we put Evan Ruiz in for Quagga Smith and Quagga Smith onto the bench for Marco van Staden.
Yeah.
That's it. This is where they make like 12 changes, isn't it? At the end of the day, like we have no idea what the thinking will be. I would like to think it would be build chemistry for this team as they head towards that rugby championship. They have got a game up against Portugal the week after next, so that will be when we do see a bit more of an experimental side. But there is also just that little bit of a chance that they decide to throw in a few new names in here just to give them some minutes up against top opposition. At the end of the day, Ireland are still the second-ranked side in the world, although I did see in the rankings if they do lose this game to South Africa and New Zealand beat England, New Zealand would actually go up to that number 2 spot. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Ooh. But nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning into this lineup prediction. Do let us know your predictions for what Rassie Erasmus will go with in the comments down below. Could be an intriguing one to see whether or not we see a lot of changes or not many. But either way, as soon as the lineup is announced, I will be doing the video on the channel as well. Be sure to check out Rugbyitch's YouTube channel. His link will be in the comment section. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And we will see you all for the next one. Franz Miller.
Are you freezing? Like, what is it?
I'm broken.